Archangel Michael, please surround us in your love and your light, your protection throughout the day. We get outside and guide our words and actions to come from a place of love. Please clear our energy and vibration completely of negative thoughts and beliefs, releasing fears and self-limiting beliefs. Help us to fully, completely experience love, light, and joy that is present in every moment, and guide our path for our highest and greatest good. The will of Adonai be done, so be it. Amen.
I mean,
I got one.
go ahead.
I am the extension of love and form. I have never been born, and I will never taste death. I am infinite and eternal. I shine forth as the sunbeam to the sun. I am the exact love of the Father, and I stand before you to love you.
Amen.
Purer than snow, finer than the ether itself. The spirit in my heart, this self I am this self. I mean,
Amen.
shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, bro. What's good?
Everything is good.
All good. All is love.
Oh,
Introduction.
Oh, for today's podcast.
Who are you?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I'm Malak Ben Adonai, one of the hosts on the Fourth Principle podcast, saying shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom,
Okay.
namaste to the flam,
Okay.
fam.
I'm Yazakar Ben Adonai. Much
And I-
love and lighting to each and every one of y'all out there. To all my brothers who's keeping Kagmakso and Pesach. Much blessings to y'all brothers.
Oh yeah, already.
Kane. And I am Kazak Yah Ben Adonai. Much love and light, and namaste to all who's watching. Again, the Pesach, new beginnings. Let's get ready for that new year. All praises.
Okay.
It is that time, isn't it?
Kane.
It's that time for the new year, so that's what's up. I think we got a good one this week.
Okay.
Lay it out.
Yeah. So we're gonna continue this discussion about the spheres of influence. For this week, we're gonna tap into economics and government as an influence. And I think this is probably gonna be more of a open dialogue. Yeah, we'll go from there.
Because y'all know, I don't do a whole bunch of that politics stuff. But it can be an influence upon, people. Or all people. I'm just not say our people, but all people. It's an influence on it. Actually, it's kind of like, it's almost to the point that it's like it's a club to some people, and it's like a battle tested ground, or what you want to say.
You talking about government?
Yeah, government or politics. Now,
Okay.
the financial parts, I think that's everybody. It's gonna do that.
What you mean, like a battle testing ground? What do you mean?
Yeah, battle testing grounds because you got the two political parties, probably the main one. Sometimes it's three, depends on which way you go. You could be an independent or a Democrat or a Republican, and how it's structured and how it's set up. Especially now, a lot of people are getting into it as in, no, the Republicans right or the Democrats. No, we're right or they're right. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like a battle tested ground especially when it comes to the point of people voting for certain people. And they're this is like national news. It's on every station. Everybody's talking about it. When the season come around, that's the energy that brings. And I think it's around in November, I think.
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
Yeah, mostly.
So you can feel the energy switch into that form. Now it may start earlier, but when it gets down to around November time, yeah, you can feel the energy change. And that's why I say when I'm talking about a lot of battlegrounds and stuff like that, it's almost like a territory is being held on to or don't want to lose. It's like a championship, man.
He said championship.
It's like a sporting event.
I mean, I guess, one of the things that I was trying to capture with this one, right, was just looking at how economics and government structure as a whole, how it influences our community.
Right.
I don't know. This one's kind of interesting.
Okay. So what I like to do is make sure we all start on the same ground, same foundation. So first I'm going to define government.
Let's do it.
So we're going to start with government. So, one, a governing body of a nation, state, or community. And these are the similar meanings that you could look under. Administration. And I want everybody to really listen to these words, because somebody may think government and they have all these different thoughts of what a government is or isn't, and so on and so forth. But these similar or similes, really listen to them. And what's that word you use, Malak, when you say somebody priming effect?
Yeah, the priming effect.
Okay. Try not to have the priming effect.
Oh, well, a lot of times it's
just gonna happen.
It's just gonna happen.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and say these words: administration, executive, root execute, regime, authority, powers that be, directorate, or to direct, a council, leadership, management, cabinet, ministry, rule. You have incumbency, and then you have top brass. And 2 is the relation between a governed and a governing world.
Right.
So you're saying how that affects, like, the people, our people, or people?
Yeah, like, how do we fit into that? And, I know that people of color are going to have, a different outlook on government. Like on one hand, some of us may be very pro-government.
Right.
And then there are those of us that have, the opposite opinion about government. Like, it doesn't work. This is not for our people, right? So on and so forth. Even down to the point, like, I've had conversations with brothers and sisters who, and I'm gonna just use the Bible for an example, who don't necessarily relate government as a systematic principle even in the Bible.
Explain that.
Yeah, meaning like they don't see government in the Bible.
But it's there.
Yeah. I don't know if I met anybody that doesn't. Okay. So you're saying how they see government, how their worldview on what government is, they don't realize that a lot of the structures and systems that are set up today are right there in the scriptures.
For an example, taxes.
Right.
Right.
Most people like, dang man, taxes this, taxes that, right? But there were taxes in the scriptures.
In the Old Testament.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Even in the New Testament,
Well,
or what they want.
we know it's in the New Testament because the New Testament is on the Roman rule when we
Right.
get there. So we know that.
Right.
But a lot of people don't realize, some of our Hebrew brothers, I'm not speaking for all, they don't realize that once they asked and requested a king like the other nations, that it was a warning given
Right.
about the taxes.
About the taxes.
You know, he's
And
going to
actu-
take. Go ahead.
And actually, before that, even when they was in the wilderness,
Okay.
when they had to bring certain things to build up the temple, because somebody can say
That's a temple tax.
that's a temple tax,
Right.
To bring forth all these goods,
Right.
to build up the temple.
Well, what if somebody says that's a free will offering?
They can say that.
Well, you see,
But
like,
still was for you to bring.
but see, here's the thing, right? So, like, even in,
Go ahead.
that's completely different, right? So, a terumah, right, which would be your votive or your free will offering, right? That's not something that was, if you want to say, taxed.
Right. But at that time, the governing of let's say, according to the scripture, God was the head. He was the king,
Yes.
right? But the face of him, or the person that went before the people, was Moses. And Moses said, bring me. And what was one of the definitions of the government? A directorate,
Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
an executive,
Tiff. Exactly.
execute these commands or these orders or whatever the case may be. So he asked the people to bring me X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So we can take this to make the temple.
Right.
Right. I would call that a tax.
Yeah. I would too. But
Yeah. Somebody say something different.
yeah, they'll say something different. But
So
yeah, go ahead, brother.
No. I'm just, the thing is right. We, even if that a system of government and it being something that has its place in the scriptures, right? I'm not speaking for all quote unquote African Americans in America, right? But a good majority, and let's just deal with like maybe the conscious community, right? We kind of distance ourselves from using the good sense that the Creator has given us, okay, and applying that to have some type of influence on how government structure should be.
Okay.
There's several excuses that we come up with as to why not.
I think we've been there before.
We've been there before,
Yes.
right? But what we can't escape is like, yo, you here.
You're here. So I'm going to propose a certain thought, and I guess you can test me on this, people. And I come from although I stand in the seat or the physical body of a Hebrew, some would say Hebrew Israelite, I have different perspectives on life. So if you go back, one, historically, and don't ask me how I got this information, let's say pre things that we have written down or have written, there's always been three forces. There's always been three forces or three manifestations of forces. You have an oppressive force. You have the force of the victim or the oppressed. And then you have the freedom fighter or the liberator. And these three forces, you can take certain groupings of society and they fall within one of these three places. And of course, each one kind of bleeds into the other in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying that to say, when you get into government, you're going to see the perception of these three forces. And when you get into the conscious or the work person, they're trying to find or navigate in that force somewhere.
Right.
Either from the oppressed mindset. So we can't trust anything that's coming from the perceived oppressor.
Right. And that's really rooted in some fear.
Yeah.
Right.
Heavily rooted in fear.
Right.
So much that, it might stop you from moving forward.
Function.
Yeah.
Well, the when you looking at fear itself, it deals with certain chemicals in your body which deals with your fight or flight.
Right.
So when you are kicking in the, I can't think of the actual words for it. Your cortisone levels raise, and someone say your adrenaline. But what happens is everything else stops to go straight to either I'm going to fight or I need to run.
I need to run.
Right. Which is which they would call it in my breathwork terminology. We would call that the systematic nervous system, which is, like you say, is a fight or flight response.
Right.
But that's why I try to get us brothers to breathe directly through the nose, out through the mouth, because it triggers another nervous system, different than the symptomatic, which is actually is called the parasystematic nervous system. They're different because that one, when you breathe through your nose, it gives it relaxes you and calms you down. Gives you that calmness.
I'm laughing because as you talk about it, I'm sitting here breathing through my nose.
But it will relax you.
Yes.
Yes. And breathing through the mouth, that's why we're so amped up all the time. Because we're normally, a lot of people breathe through their mouth.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a lot of people that breathe through their mouth and they don't even realize it. That's why when you go to sleep, you snore, you're breathing through your mouth instead of breathing through your nose. So when you wake up, you kind of amp. But people that's real calm, they wake up kind of sluggish sometimes because then you could tell the difference when you wake up in the morning on if you were breathing through your nose or breathing through your mouth.
Okay. So I got a question for y'all brothers. Should we take more of a proactive approach in government?
That's tough for me.
It's all good. Just
out. You know me. Yes and no.
okay. So just tell me both.
For those who feel like that they make a difference and that they can make a change or they can have an effect in government, absolutely. If that's what you believe, like this system is tried and whatever, however you quantify how your effect would be in the government, voting. My vote counts and my vote matters. And, if the person that I want gets elected, I was a part of that. If the person that didn't, that I didn't want got elected, then at least I tried.
Okay. And I'd even say this, right? I'll scale it down a notch. So, like, for an example, right? You know how, let's take ordinances, right? Which these, like, a lot of times these are regulated to the community.
Right.
Okay, so one example is like speed restrictions in residential areas.
Right.
The residents of those areas, they go to the
council meetings.
Right. And they actually vote on what it should be.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I take that as a principle, right? You can, if you want something to be a certain type of way because it's beneficial for the community. Right. Obviously there's a process for that. Follow the process or get involved with the process and use the influence that you have to make the changes necessary in the community.
Going back to your question, I think that are for those people who see a need for a change or something. But for someone, let's say, I was going to say like me, that I don't have a problem slowing down when the speed limit says 15 miles an hour or 25 miles an hour or whatever, especially in the community. I have that sense to slow down because I have, we all here have children or have had young children at one point in time. So it's only meaningful for those who see a need for a change.
And what I'll say to that is that as a whole, okay, people of color are asking for things to change.
Right.
They're asking for things to change within education. They're asking for things to change within housing. They're asking for things to change let's say maybe even in the structure and output of rules and regulation. They're asking for it. You know, and a lot of times, you know, I've seen that we voice those requests in a way that, you know, it keeps us going in circles over and over and over.
It's a paradox of that thought.
Okay.
From being, you know, joined the military in 1996, getting out in 2016, I've met a lot of different types of people and I've gone through a different range of mental development myself.
Right.
And dealing with people and being one of those people at times that ask for change, but at the same time not willing to do what it needs to do, doing what needs to be done to be an effect in change. So looking at myself from my youth to my moving towards the elder stage in life, it's like, man, a lot of people say a lot of things, but their actions say different because of a group mentality. And it's not wrong to want for a collective, but to make any effort starts with self.
Okay.
You know, each part of a group is very important to the wholeness of the group.
Agreed.
So if I want change, I need to start with myself and my family. And some people will say, well, that's selfish. No, it's kind of common sense. I need to start with change with myself. And as I change mentally, physically, and spiritually, now I have an opportunity to be that change that I want to see.
Right.
Because it starts with me.
Agreed.
But if I project that outward and say, well, we need to change. Somebody need to do something about this. Or the reason why I'm in this situation is because somebody out there, they're X, Y, and Z. They have the power. I have no power.
And that right there is what I want to tackle.
Let's go.
Because that seems to be the roadblock that has the most likes in the community.
Right.
Right.
Facts. That person over there, they got all the power. I can't do nothing.
As a man thinketh, so shall he be.
Right.
Right.
Which is an illusion.
It's an
You can
illusion.
You can do whatever you want. Trust me.
Along with that illusion is people that benefit from you believing in that illusion. And I'm gonna be the negative party in this. If I could get you to believe that I have power over you, why would I stop you from believing that?
Right.
If it's keeping me in a good position, why would I stop you? Shoot, I will encourage you to keep believing that.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're not gonna stop that.
I would empower you to keep believing in that.
So back to that priming effect, right? That's gonna bleed down to the next generation of people.
Right.
Exactly.
And as this generation of people, as they come into the earth, right, their decision making it's all the way over there somewhere.
And it still goes with the group mentality. It's like, in order to be African American or black, we all should, versus, well, I need to establish an education. I need financial education. I need to learn how money works. Instead of seeing that way, it's more of, we get together and say, well, look at him. He's over there trying to get into X, Y, and Z school.
Right.
Or why is he trying so hard to be like X, Y, and Z? It could baffle.
What?
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Historically,
All right.
when did people ever think like that?
About getting an education?
No. Like, well, why is he trying to learn something? Or you know what? You know,
Because you trapped in a situation.
Yeah. Cat might be like, oh, you know, so since you can read, you must be one of them.
Can I say this? Let's use this word for the USA, the United States of America, right? Let's look at it as a project, a social project.
Okay.
Right? Where when it came to be, the construct was, you know, it was people already here, right? which
Right.
had their own version of their governments. We call them the nations of the Native Americans and so on and so forth. Then you had a government system that, just reclaimed their independence for, 1492, right? The Europeans started reclaiming their independence from the Moorish empires. They started,
Right.
Yeah,
if you go back that far. Yeah.
it was even before that. They started,
Yeah.
but eventually culminated in 1492. Columbus started sailing and so on and so forth. So you have these edicts and bulls going out, converting people to Christianity.
Right.
And you have groups of people, which we're not going to mention here right now, that were captured, dispersed to different places, and enslaved. And then you find these new lands in America. You come over and you start what we call colonization process. Of course, the colonization process started in other parts of the earth, but we're talking about America. So as time goes on, the Americas started establishing government. And a lot of us, we look at it like, okay, these are European races of people or European groups of people. I just use the term European families of people, which are usually, for the most part, we say Caucasian. But we still leave out that there were people of color that came over along with the Europeans to establish these here eventually colonies. So as these governments starts getting established, it starts culminating from, if you want to say, a Christian thing, and it became, well, it was already, but it became more. I say the science project became more racially driven. And one part of government is understand that a lot of these things did not include people that look like you and I. A lot of the structure, as the infrastructure was being set up, which was really, was it forced servitude?
Right.
You had another group of people that was benefiting from it. So here we have the oppressor and the oppressed. And what we call rebellions would be liberators or freedom fighters.
Right.
Right? So it's the principles. But as government is setting up, it initially was started for these founding fathers or these founding groups of people. You were never, or people like you and I were never written into that. So fast forward to 2023, we're talking about equality and different things of that nature. You were never equal based on the government structure. And this didn't just start in America.
Right.
This started in every kingdom. Every kingdom had, you have aliens.
Yes.
Illegal aliens. You had aliens. You had visas, people that came here just to work.
Right.
And then you had what we considered indentured servitude or forced servitude, which is called slavery today.
Correct.
So when you look at what the so-called, and it's not all, people are dealing with now, and the concepts of, well, we don't have the power, it's things that's been legislation and things that have changed throughout the last 400 years.
Yes.
That allows you to change, if you want to say, your status, because what I was talking about is it's a status thing.
Yes.
In a lot of countries they still have, you serve in the army for a certain amount of time, and you have the citizen status. You have the full benefits of being a citizen because you serve for 4 years or 3 years or whatever. So when you start looking at us as a people, we don't understand what our status is. If that makes any sense.
No, I got you.
We don't understand the terms of status. And I think that's a detriment now because of the belief that, oh, look at Tulsa, Oklahoma. Look at Rosewood. Look at all the countless places that we tried to establish something, and those that don't look like us destroyed it. So I throw my hands up and says, well, I'm not trying because we'll never be able to do anything in this land. And I think that's a fallacy. I think that a lot of people that's in that place, that frame of mind.
Well, what land can you do it in?
That's a good question, because every land you go to, there's citizenship.
Right.
You have to be a citizen to get any stakes or claim to certain land.
And that's the polarization in the earth. That's the agreement, universally. You know what I'm saying? There's status everywhere you go. So if you can't do it here, then where can you do it?
Right.
I'm sure there's a circular reasoning for that answer as well.
And one thing that I would like to encourage, brothers and sisters, man, like, let's try to step away from the circular reasoning. It's like, no, it can't happen because of this. So it fits a narrative, right? Anytime you talk about moving up, it's like, well, no.
Can I, for those who don't know what circular reasoning is, it's when your conclusion is on the premise. Your conclusion circles around with the premise being the same conclusion. Meaning, for example, a black man can't get ahead in America because he's oppressed. So how do you get to that answer? You go through and you say, well, we were born here slaves, slavery, Jim Crow, lynching, police brutality, so on, and you just keep going. And you're gonna find reasons to come back to the same premise. So your conclusion and your premise is one and the same. So you can never get out of that loop of having that one thought.
So you never can escape that thought.
You can never escape that thought. All roads lead to the premise.
Right.
And it's like going out into the woods, putting a bullseye in a tree, and putting the arrow in the tree and say, "Look, see, I can't miss."
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't.
So
that's interesting, bro.
It's hard for people to step out of, because your belief is your reality. How you see things and how you structure things based on your and that's even loose. Your experiences, your familial experiences, your tribal experiences, your group, your gang, whatever you want to call it, your whatever sect you're with. You could be a police officer, a doctor. These are all kind of like gangs. I work in a shipyard. It's a shipyard thing.
Gang, right.
So that reasoning is outsourced into your reality. So if you see government a certain type of way, it's going to be hard to shake it because you usually have a group of people
backing it up,
backing that illusion or that belief.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is not to discredit, a misuse of thinking that happens with people in certain positions, right? I would never discredit that because there are people who misuse their ability to be free and exercise their decision making.
So what you saying, Ark, is that people are putting their own selves in captivity.
I think you do.
Well, if I go with the premise of what the scriptures say, that would be factual. And let's go from the literal writing. Well, choose you this day to do good or to do evil. I want for you to do good, but and I'm paraphrasing because I can do that. I want for you to do good, but if you don't, these things will befall you. So let's take that as a mind state. There's your higher self speaking to you. You could create. You have the power to create as the creator. You are a God spark here on this earth. You can take your power and miscreate, and all the energies of miscreation must come back to you because you are the creator of it and you need to experience it. Or you can take that same creative power and create Tob or good. You can create productively. And then in that same power, it has to come back to you because each creator needs to experience what it creates.
Right.
So once you make that choice, you're choosing to experience whatever that belief is, which is your creation, your mental projection.
Agreed.
Okay.
Facts. Agree.
And you know what? Like, let me back you up real quick. If I want to use something that's foundationally covered in the scriptures, the Bible, right? You go back into Genesis. A very clear and distinct principle, right? It kind of gives you the symbology of everything begets of its own
Its
kind.
own kind. Okay.
Right? So you see that with animals, you see that with vegetation. Later you kind of see that with humans. You see that with aquatic life, right? The principle is that everything begets of its own kind. So if you get rid of everything that's material, the only thing that's there is the information,
Okay.
is the energy,
Right.
the
Which is
spark,
Light. Right.
right?
Exactly.
Whatever that is, it's going to replicate. So for an example, even in the human body, right? Don't cells replicate?
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so however you nurture those cells, right? You can nurture them or you can choose not to nurture them,
Right.
right? That doesn't stop the replication of cells, so to speak.
Right.
And I'm not trying to go all the way into the science and all this other kind of stuff, right? I'm just dealing with the principle only.
Right.
The principle is that everything begets of its own kind,
Right.
right? So that means that it starts with you and it ends with you.
Right.
Don't let people tell you.
You know.
Now, like you
People
said,
don't accept that, brother.
if I can get you to believe something else,
Right.
Right.
then you know what? A good work,
Right.
a great work has been done on your consciousness.
Like I always like to say, it's like whether you say you can or you can't,
You're right.
you're right.
You're right. It's just that simple. It's just
You're
that
right.
simple.
You're right.
And I was having this conversation, and you know, it's like I see the energetic pulls on the soul life, right? Some of us are integrating into the principality of existence.
Okay.
Some of us are choosing to stay in the material expression of existence.
Right.
Right, where you're captivated by the senses.
Which is what you hear, what you see, what you feel, what you taste.
Right,
And
which-
what you think you or say that you know.
Right, which is temporal.
Right.
It doesn't have a lasting effect. You can smell an aroma only but for so long. Right? But when you get to the principle of how things operate, the energy of how things, or the spirit of how things operate, that's what's long withstanding. And I think that, you know, if we can capture the principle or the spirit of government, right? And how, like, even the body, man, the body is ruled or governed by a system of government.
Right.
You know, one of our brothers, man, he used to say this all the time, man. The body is a law unto itself.
The body's a law unto itself. King. Yes.
You know what I mean? Your body is a demonstration of the intermingling of the soul. Your body expresses what the soul comprehends. It shows you all the time.
Okay.
So if we can take the principle of these things, right, and not necessarily focus on the material, which is the people,
All right.
Or I have to pay something,
you know, whatever.
whatever it may be.
That being said, it goes back to self.
For what you said earlier.
It goes back right.
Okay.
It goes back to yourself. It goes back to starting to know thyself, know who you are, know what you are, know what you can mentally, physically, spiritually, what you can deal with, what you're capable of doing. Create healthy boundaries with those around you. You know, deal with your traumas, whatever they may be. Speak about it. We live in an era of I don't want to say full disclosure, but the Me Too and all these different things. It's an energy or a vibration. What is it? Yeshua talked about the water bearer. So the age of Aquarius is the age of information. The water represents information.
Right.
So, and the information is being given to everyone. That's why we're in we have all this technology.
And also, water is the movement of the soul.
The water is a movement of the soul.
Not just the soul, the emotions and all.
Everything.
It has it all in there.
It destroys and it makes new again.
No, again.
So when we start being honest with self, you know, and doing the self healing, that is government. That is the beginning of government.
Can you quantify that?
What part?
Okay.
Doing the self healing.
Yes.
Starting with self.
Starting with yourself.
How that is. Those are the foundational blocks for government.
For government, because as you start with yourself, you understand that we're all mirrors of each other.
Right.
So in that understanding, it's like if I get upset because of something you said, it's not necessarily you.
Right.
It's an opportunity of love. It's an opportunity for me to look within myself and say, why am I upset with my brother? What triggered me? And
so it's pointing to the traumas.
It's pointing right back to trauma.
Okay.
Right? So it gives me a blessing. My anger, or the anger that I choose to have towards you, is actually a blessing, they say, in disguise, but it's a blessing for me to go do some work.
Right. On yourself.
On myself, because you're my brother and you triggered me. So how much more so if it was somebody that I don't even know on the street, at my job, or somewhere out in the world.
Right.
And in going and healing these triggers, it brings a state of peace towards you that you actually reflect to others. So again, going back to the premise that we're all mirrors of each other, when you go out, right, and I see it's okay, and I'm like, oh, my brother, you know, I treat him as I would treat myself.
Facts.
And he's gonna look and say, well, what's going on with that brother that he's so relaxed or he's so at peace? I just kind of low key call him stupid. And he ain't even flinch.
Don't he see what's going on out here?
Don't he see what's going on out here? And you may ask the question, and then you want to know why I don't see. So now you got to go do work.
Now I got to.
So now, as a community, you know, we go back to the analogy, and I'm not trying to offend anybody that, you know, that has trauma based on religion.
Right.
There's a lot of people that might be watching that may have traumas based on religion, based on groups, and so on and so forth.
Right. Even in politics, people have trauma.
They have trauma from politics.
Everything.
But what we're doing is taking what we have been given at the level that we have it and giving it back. Perspective, right. Fourth principle. Right. So going in on that, it's like Abraham, the analogy of Abraham was he wasn't going out converting people. Like, no. Hey, look, come. He was just being who he was. And by coming into his presence, being given hospitality and so on and so forth, showing them love and light, people want to become that same light. They joint themselves to that same love, exactly. That same light, exactly. Or that same character.
Right.
And then they started building from a foundation character. And you started building government from that ideology.
You know what? That's very interesting, because once he gets to dealing with Abimelech at one point in time, he's like, hey, what's unique about this guy right here, right? I see that the fear of Elohim or God is upon him.
Right. Right. How do you see that? Because you see something in a person's character. That's
a soul to soul response.
Right. It's not about the physical. Well, it is, because the physical things are the shadow of the truth.
Right. Right. And you're talking about at that time, right? You know, Abimelech.
My father is king. Or king is the father.
You know, we attribute that's distinguished positions. If you want to deal with the material expression of that.
Right.
Distinguished positions. Right. But it's soul to soul recognition. Right. It's a recognition of, I'm gonna say, the Christ principle that's in everybody.
Mm-hmm. So let's take it a little further, because I want to go back on the Abraham thing. So I'm gonna ask you, brothers. So do we need to go forth with the gospel? Or is there a misunderstanding in when it says go out and spread the gospel?
I say you just become the gospel.
Facts. And that's what I'm talking about. Instead of trying to beat somebody with a whole bunch of scriptures.
Or
that.
Or or a bunch of ordinances or a bunch of laws or just be the law.
Be the law.
Be that.
Be the gospel.
Right.
Be the truth.
Right.
Be the light.
That's how you spread the gospel.
Right.
Or the light.
It's infectious.
Right.
Right.
It's infectious.
So if it's not working, that means you need to go back to the drawing board.
Well, let me
to
tell
figure
you.
what's going on.
Let me tell you how you gonna know.
Go ahead.
Because you're gonna get the mirror image of what your soul is wrapped up in. Right. It's gonna come in the form of, I don't know, your Isha, your Yeladim, your co-workers.
Isha, wife, Yeladim, children. Just translate. No, you good. We
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get it in all those forms. Yeah. Right? And you said the blessing. The blessing is your ability to recognize.
Discernment.
Right. When you can capture what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what you're doing.
Watch it. It just, man. It'll give you the opportunity to administrate.
Right.
Break it down.
It's all these words. It's there.
Break it down.
In you going and doing the work on yourself, right? It gives you start having discernments of who you are and who you're not, or you should. So when you go out into the world and these reflections starts coming at you in real time, you're acting. I'm not going to say reacting, because reaction means you're acting again in a way of something familiar. Mm-hmm. So you're acting in accord with the real life stimuli that's happening in that moment. And you can administer, goes back to administration. Mm-hmm. You can administer the proper discernment. I don't want to say judgment, but if we're going to use judgment, it's more of you deliberating, okay, is this the best way I should go? Is this how I should deal with this person or not deal with that person? Right. So thinking about that, you know thyself. You can make an executive decision on the spot. You have an authority about yourself that if somebody's trying to inject a certain thought or idea towards you, you can actually deliberate it on the spot and say, listen, I hear what you're saying. I appreciate your perspective, but I don't necessarily agree with you, but that's okay.
Right. Because that's their lane.
That's their lane. And when you have confidence in yourself like that, when you can't really be swaying this way or that way, or, certain, you have traumas based on how you may have been treated as a child, treated with your friends, being, taken advantage of, all these different things. It gives you, you have people start coming to you for counsel. You know what I mean? Because they see something in you, again, that either in them that they see a lack in, or they see a strength in you that they feel they could come to you and ask you certain questions.
Right. Because once you see the light, we're all attracted to the light.
Right.
So we're all looking for the light, or we're looking for that wisdom,
right,
to help us get from a certain point in our life to another point, right, within life.
And the thing about the light, it attracts both positive and negative.
Right.
And sometimes the negative, how I see it sometimes, they'll come to you, but usually it's to get you to agree with what they're saying.
Right. Yeah.
It's like they want your wisdom, right, but at the same time they want to be convinced that they're right in whatever direction that they're trying to go that's contrary to peace.
Right. And let us make it clear. Negative doesn't mean bad.
No.
It doesn't mean bad or all that stuff that I know some people teach. A negative, or what we would say a negative person, is they just look at certain things contrary to what we look at.
Pessimist. Pessimist. They could be love light. They probably give you the clothes off their back. I'm not going to describe somebody that's loving. Right. They could be of love and light, but they still have a mentality based on traumas, based on fear, right, that projects a negative outview on life.
Right. Let me give you somebody. Thanos.
If anybody doesn't know who that is,
was he right, or was he right, or was he wrong?
He was negative. Right. Wait, hold on. Let me see if I can say it right. I want to say it. Let me see if I can say it right. He was wrong when it comes to love.
Right.
I love light.
So let me ask you,
Only reason, and the only reason, I'm not saying he's wrong because of he wanted to exterminate half the population so that we could restart anew and afresh.
Right.
But I would say the wrongness, and
Didn't give the choice.
he didn't give choice. He didn't give the
Or the free
freedom
will.
of choice.
Right.
And it's like, who are you to decide?
Right.
But he did say it was random.
so so how much of that decision making is connected to ego inflation?
Say that again.
How much of that decision
Ooh, this is good.
is connected to ego inflation? Because ego inflation, right? I think that might be one of the core issues with government structure.
Right.
It's a good point because even I'm thinking about the analogy we're using, which is Thanos from Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. He said, it's the responsibility is mine.
Right.
And it's like, well, a lot of our brothers, a lot of, people in high places, churches, mosques, temples, so on and so forth, they feel that it's their responsibility. The people, I have to make these decisions for the people.
Right.
And I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're wrong. The question is, how much of that is ego? Because who told you that?
Right.
Who told you that? Who told Thanos it was, I have to make this decision because,
Right. Yeah.
where did that come from?
That's what I'm saying. Ego inflation.
It can all, like I said, all of this stems back to trauma. Somewhere down his line, it was traumatic to him because it's too many people on the planet. That's traumatic to somebody. You know what I'm
Wars.
saying?
He said there was a lot of wars. He seen people starve. He seen people die.
Right.
And again, this is an analogy, but everything we watch on television is based on real principles.
Well, that's the entire premise of the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in the physical expression is the spiritual reality.
Right.
Exactly.
On some level.
On some level.
On some level.
Some shape, form, or fashion, right? So it's like this, right? So like I think that ego inflation, this happens when you magnify your office.
Come on. Come on.
Hit me
Come on.
again and then elaborate.
I think that ego inflation happens when you magnify your office. So what happens is that your opinion becomes so significant in your mind, right, that you don't see anything else. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. Okay? What I am saying is that might be a little imbalanced. Where you miss the opportunity to capture the whole picture. Right? Take in, what's the scripture? Do nothing having not considered the entire cost.
Right.
So yeah, you'll convince yourself and be like, no, I got the answer.
So when relating that to government, right?
Right.
Let's go to the physical, real life. Would you see that as a dictatorship?
Yeah. Right. Anybody that has ever led people, right? That your biggest asset, if you will, is your people.
Is the people. Now, how you project your, I don't want to say your will, ideas to the people determines.
Right. Right. You're gonna always get back what you put out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if your ego is a destructive nature over those who you have guardianship, right? In turn, those individuals, they will return that back to you.
Okay.
Right.
this is just a plug. It's not a plug, but it's something for people to watch. If you want to understand negative construct, I'm gonna use the term, but it's not exclusive. Negative constructs in government versus the whatever else is the other. And it's a documentary on Netflix called How to Become a Tyrant.
Okay.
I really think y'all brothers should watch it. But it really gets into remember I said everything we watch is like it's something about the psyche of man. It's a reflection of something spiritual. Yes. It's energy.
Yes.
Star Wars, all of our cartoons,
right.
He-Man and Skeletor, Autobots, Decepticons. It's a principle that is kind of replayed in the psyche of man. What's the name of that book you have, Malak? Man and His Symbols.
Oh yeah, Man and His Symbols by Carl Jung.
Carl Jung.
Yeah, Carl
right.
G. Jung.
Yes. So when you start looking at government, you have what we considered, I would call it true democracy, when the people has the power. You have the people. If you go back into tribal days, you have the tribe, you have the elders, and then you may have a particular person or persons that are actually leading the people, but it's all on the vote of the people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But then tyranny is when one person, you have the people, but one person,
or a group of people, but usually it's still usually the one man, but the group is his enforcers. Right.
And it goes back to, do you rather be loved or feared?
Right. And I want to read something on fear.
Read,
bro. Read.
Bring it out.
Fear is the chief element, and fear can be more deep-seated than people imagine. It passes into the deeper channels of a man's being and reacts upon the functioning of his mind, bringing periods of great distress and anxiety.
So what does that do to a government structure?
Right. The same thing it does to your body.
Right.
Erodes over time.
It erodes over time. Now think about, and I know these things don't happen overnight, right? But maybe one point of consideration, right, in government is just to be more loving, right? And what I mean by being more loving is, right, just simply seeing yourself in the other person, right? Wanting for the other person what you want for yourself. I'm not saying be taken advantage of and all the other things that, come with a certain type of mindset, right? But what I am saying is, the uplifting and the nurturing of a community through thought, through deed, through word expression, right? Starting with yourself, monitoring what you're doing, what you're feeling, what you're thinking.
Actively heal your traumas. I got to throw that in there. Actively heal your traumas.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you can't, if you're not able to heal your traumas, it kind of puts a limitation on the amount of love that you'll be able to express.
And I think we all have been in that place before.
Okay. Right. And we're all still. I mean, I'm still doing work, so I'm not sitting here from a seat like, it's work. Right. It's constant work.
But think about when you got a group of people who are constantly doing that work. Mm-hmm. Right, as opposed to a group of people who are just doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like it's gonna be different.
Right.
One side is Mitzrayim or Egypt, the other side is Goshen.
Mm-hmm. Even if you want to go take it further, that's why the king wasn't supposed to have certain things over the people. He weren't supposed to collect all these things.
Right.
So to keep him in a certain position, saying, "No, I'm here for the people."
Right.
Once
you put yourself in a place to be looked up at, that means that you're also in a place to look down.
Right.
On people.
Right.
So it's make a new world. I say that, or as they say, the messianic age. We all have work to do. We all have to see each other as one.
Facts.
We say the Shema, Hey, O Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. But what does that mean? You're talking about God. You looking up and looking out, but you got all these fingers pointing back at you. You know what I'm saying? How do you see your brother? The physical reflection of the Creator.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That expression.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, tying this back into, and we didn't get to economics, which is all.
Yeah, I was like, we didn't get to economics.
It's all good.
Yet.
It's all good. But tying this back into government as a sphere of influence, can you give us those definitions one more time?
The definitions of government.
And I'm gonna say this before he reads them. I'm gonna say that these all fall under the umbrella of self.
Exactly.
Right.
It has to maintain. You have to maintain self throughout any regime, any tribal, any cultural understanding. You have to understand self first before you even start a government.
1, the governing body of a nation, state, or community. I pause because thoughts are flowing with what you just said about self. Think of it like this, and then I'm going to go ahead and read the points. Is your self is a block in the building. You are one portion of a block to the building.
The chief cornerstone.
The chief cornerstone.
Come on, dog.
So if I could get a bunch of, if you can get a bunch of people that have healed, that's consciously working on self, that's constantly looking at each other as each other, then you start becoming a body,
right?
And that body becomes a administration. You see what I'm saying? And that administration is standing on a foundation of these principles, just based on you healing yourself.
Say it again.
Oh man, I don't know if I could repeat that. Y'all home, just rewind the tape.
Hit the rewind button.
Rewind the tape. But it's a structure. Again, you're that building block. You're a bin.
Right.
A bin.
Right.
Okay.
Strength of the house.
A strength of the house. So going on now, the other similar words, administration.
Okay.
Executive. Regime. Authority. Powers that be. Whew. Directorate. Council. Leadership. Management. Cabinet. Ministry. Rule. Incumbency, and top brass. And it's in grammar, it's the relation between a governed and a governing world. Right. You are the beginning of that world, whatever that world will become. And if you haven't healed yourself, if you're miscreating and you're putting negative energies out in the world, guess what? And then you start getting with people with the same like mind as you, and you're miscreating, you have a government of miscreation. Right. Which causes pain, suffering, strife, fear, because fear is actually the foundation.
Wow.
Right. Oh, yeah. Let me clarify. I did say the strength of the house.
The strength.
I mean the continuation of the strength of the house.
Okay.
Ben.
Abba is strength of the house, right?
Yeah. Father.
Yeah. I had thought about it. I was that's not what I just said. But yeah. Okay.
What you got brewing over there?
Like, nah, I mean, you said it all, man. I'm good.
Man, that's
government. So
government, man.
Ultimately, here in the West, a lot of things are astray in our communities because we haven't healed.
Right. Because
we haven't done work.
Right, because of the trauma.
So I'm gonna ask a question, and I mean, I know you brothers, right? But to anybody that may be listening, are you at least willing to heal?
Raise your hand. Somebody out there, raise your hand. Are you willing to do that?
Are you willing? And if you, whether you are or whether you are not, that right there will give you that will segue onto the path that you're taking.
Right.
That will give you a lot of the answers that you're looking for in your experience and why things look the way that they do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And remember, if you're willing to heal, if you're not willing to heal, that means you're stagnant. You don't want that, which can cause depression.
It's actually I don't know the medical term for it, but it's like you move from a active state to a frozen state of consciousness. Right. It's like based on traumas, you know, for a person that works, they could keep moving forward and making new. Right. But a person that hasn't dealt with their trauma, they don't realize it, but they're actually in a frozen state of consciousness.
Right. Or a circle that keep on.
It becomes a circular reasoning.
And
then you start projecting out based on that trauma. Everything that you're unable to do or that you're miscreating, you may not know it, but it comes back to that trauma.
Right. And then, you know, think about that as, you know, we open a lane for other souls to come into that consciousness.
Right.
Right. Because those souls volunteer to come into that consciousness.
Right.
Right. And that's, you know, I'm going to say this.
It's responsibility. We all have a responsibility towards each other.
We got a responsibility. And I think that it's an appropriate time to answer the call to soul development.
You want to get that in there.
I do. I do.
You have to, because it's a state of mind. It's a state of being.
I mean, well, they're all states of being.
You know, you have to be that way, man. We trust me, probably every show we talk about, we're going to talk about healing, because that's what we need. We need to heal.
And you know what? I'll say this. I know that there are several people that they looking for other like-minded people who are healing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I think what happens is that, you know, we've become so callous in our approach that people, you know, they lose or they put to the side their ability to be vulnerable with other people.
Right. That's based on fear.
That's based on fear.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like fear is the, you know, it's the governing body in consciousness right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it has a strong hold on a lot of us.
So I say this for those who are looking for the Messiah's return. Right.
Uh-oh.
We're talking about healing.
Come on.
Right. The Christ, or the Christ consciousness, or one who has the mind of Christ, or as Jesus, as they say, he's only going to be coming back for those who are like-minded. He's not looking for someone that's not responsible, that's blaming others and outside of themselves for their situations. He's not, you know, he's not looking for people that's not willing to do the work. As we read, he did the work. He went out. He saw others as he saw himself, which was whole and complete. Man, pick up your bed and come follow me.
Yeah.
Or get up and walk.
If that ain't healing.
Because he saw them as whole.
He saw the truth.
He saw the truth of who they were. Right. Versus them seeing themselves, well, I've been this way. And
who told you that?
Right.
Who?
Well, you know, my mom and my dad and well, why is this guy like that?
Right.
Was it some sin that his mom did or his dad did?
It said no.
No.
It said no.
Is it something he did before in another life?
It said no.
Low.
It's here for the glory.
Right.
So it's really understand that you are already complete, but you're going through the processes, or you have to go through the processes of getting to that point to see your completion. It's no different as you go buy, I don't know, a Hyundai Sonata, and then a Blue Hyundai Sonata. And once you get that Blue Hyundai Sonata, you start realizing, oh, there's a bunch. Where did all these other Blue Hyundai Sonatas come?
Right.
They've always been there. Your consciousness has just been made aware of it based on you getting that vehicle. So think about that when healing. When you heal, right, you start saying like, wait a minute. I can do this and I can do that. It's not that you couldn't do it before.
Right. It just
but because it came into your awareness once you overcame the things that were holding you back.
So when you gain perception and you can cognate a recognition of the law, there's no such thing as miracles.
Say it again.
Woo.
I don't know what I just said.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You have to, but let me try it again. When you can, you got to rewind it back.
You said when you have the perception of the law and you can cognate it.
I say when you gain. I don't remember what I said, man.
Yeah, that's sometimes we be in a flow state and the spirit moves. Yes, when you recognize and you're able to think or cognate and appropriately.
You understand that there's no such thing as miracles.
There's no such thing as miracles.
That is the natural form of life.
That's the natural form of life.
The truth.
The truth.
Yeah.
The truth is.
Right.
Someone's ability to come and what you say heal you, they're not healing you.
Like, watch this. You know, it's said that the doctor dresses the wound, but the Most High heals it.
Absolutely.
You know, once they go do surgery and they remove whatever the blockage is.
Okay.
Right? And you seal you back up. What's healing you?
Right.
I have different ways of saying that one, but I got you.
I mean, I'm just saying.
What I was getting at is a person that's a healer or has been, you know, a doctor, a psychiatrist, so on and so forth. They are a channel, to allow that which is already in you to open, to bring in, we say Reiki or universal life force into you to allow you to heal yourself.
Right.
And when I say yourself, I am talking about the creator, that aspect of the creator. So
100%, man. That is a reintegration into the truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you completely let your guard down, you become vulnerable, right? And you re-assimilate to the truth of being.
Jesus healed them. No. He said, your faith has made you whole.
Come on.
You don't believe it? Go scrape your hand and watch what happens.
Healing instantly.
Yeah. Your body forgives, not even under your own command.
Right.
That is the law.
Right.
You scrape your hand, you scrape your skin, guess what? It goes through the process of becoming whole again.
Right.
That right there is a testament that healing it's there for you.
Right.
It's there for us.
But you gotta have to want it. Because if you don't want it, or you don't believe, or have the faith that it's gonna happen, then you might get gangrene in that hand. All because you don't believe you can heal.
Right. Remember in our training, it was saying that when we were training the military, they were like, your mind state can affect you in a combat situation.
Yes.
And if it's the mind state is like, if you're afraid of getting shot or something like that, it's people that's been shot like minor injuries, but because they think that, I've been shot, and that fear, they actually die because they believe they might have got shot through the hand or the arm or whatever, but they believe that it's a life-threatening wound. They could actually bring upon themselves a death. So your faith, use it wisely. Shalom.
No.
Yeah.
Use it wisely.
Okay.
Use it wisely, man. Or just use it.
A lot of people are using it. a lot of people are using it.
Yeah, they do.
And it's a lot of crazy things happening in the world. And there's a lot of good things happening in the world.
And it's just not one way of healing, you know.
Right.
A lot of people think it is, you know.
Okay.
You know, eating properly is healing. You know, breathing properly is healing. Meditation is properly healing. Running around the block is healing. Walking is healing.
Kind words to one another is healing.
It's healing. How you interact with other people in a love light form is healing for yourself and to them.
Isn't that the kind of kingdom or government we want to live in?
What?
A government a kingdom where you could come out and see a smiling face that brings warmth to your heart.
Right. Nobody want to see a grumpy face all day.
Somebody that really cares about your welfare
Right.
every time they see you.
Right.
Yeah, man, for sure.
They light up.
Okay.
Light your light. Let your light shine, bro.
Yeah, man.
Any other thoughts on government?
No.
I think you brothers
Yeah, I think.
nailed that one.
Don't say you brothers, we.
Yeah.
I think you brothers nailed that one, man. Yeah.
I mean, we could tackle what you call next week.
Economics.
Economics.
Yeah, we could tap that one in next week.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, man. All praises to the Most High.
All praises. All praises to the one infinite creator, Adonai.
Yes. We just want to thank y'all again, man, for viewing, coming back each and every week, man. I just want to thank everybody for watching the videos that we putting out. Man, it's just amazed how certain videos get the response that and a lot of those videos that it's so much in it that a lot of people are really connecting to it. I mean, I just want to say thank y'all, man, for real. Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Toda.
Each and every one of you.
And like I said, every weekend you could have been anywhere in the world. You could be doing anything, but you're here with us on this Shabbat. Definitely, if anybody is in the local area and they want to do some Reiki with the angels, any type of energy work, any type of breath work, any healing, just reach out to the Fourth Principle at
fourthprinciple7@gmail.com.
Kane. Or if they even just want to have a dialogue, sure, I'm always down for a good dialogue.
We always.
If you agree, if you disagree, either way, I'm going to be learning something from you, and most high willing, you be learning something from me. That's how we do here at the Fourth Principle.
Right. Okay.
Oh, what do they always say? And just hit that subscribe button. It may be a small thing to you, but it means a whole lot to us.
Facts. And share. Like
share.
it. Yeah, man. Put it out there. Because it's just not you that need it.
Right.
The healing is for us all on this planet. And I think we all need it. Gaia, or what you call the earth, she needs it.
Yes. All right.
Shalom, fam. Shalom.
Peace, much love, and namaste.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.